Hey, this is Gina Grad.
Hi, this is Teresa Strasser.
Hi, everyone. This is Mike Errico.
Hey there, this is Casey Cavalier.
I'm Rocky Rose.
And you are listening to The Jay Franzi Show.
Lucky you.
Welcome to The Jay Franzi Show, a behind-the-curtain look at the entertainment industry with insights you can't pay for and stories you've never heard. Now, here's your host, Jay Franzi.
Well, hello, and welcome to the show. I am Jay Franzi, and this is your backstage pass to the entertainment industry. This week, we get to talk with a hip-hop artist, an actor, and a host. We get to talk with Keldamuzik. We'll talk to her about the production of her music, the marketing of her music, and we'll discuss her role on the TV show, The Hodges. Now, Kelda, she's a ball of energy, and I can't wait to talk with her tonight. So if you would like to join in, comment, or fire off any questions, please head over to jfranzi.com. Now, let's get started. Miss Kelda, how are you?
Hello, Jay. How are you?
I am fantastic. I am very excited. I am looking forward to this.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it is my pleasure. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. I know your music spans across different genres. You have different influences that play into the style that you write. Can you just tell us what some of those influences are and how the elements come together for you?
Yeah, so, my primary music is hip hop. However, lately I've been, dabbling into a little bit of dance, tech, EDM. And let me tell you, the writing it's a bit different. The style of writing is different compared to writing verses when you write hip hop music. When you're writing pop, R&B, dance music, it's a little bit more drawn out, I should say, because really you got to think about notes. You're thinking about holding notes, and you're thinking about how you're going to hold the note on the next bar. So it is typically different. And what really influenced me to make music in the first place, I believe it or not, I would have to say Michael Jackson influenced me big time. It's unfortunate what happened to him, but just speaking of him as an artist, him as a performer, I just remember being like 4 or 5 years old and just watching him perform at the Billboard Music Awards, American Music Awards, Grammys. And it's like, whoa, I've never seen a performer like that. Obviously, there's so many great performers today, but it all comes from Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? And I was like, damn, I wish I would have came out with a moonwalk first. Something to impress the fans. But performance-wise, he's just been a huge influence on my music career. And then, fast forward, Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, The Brat, Left Eye from TLC, all influenced me as a female rap artist.
And I can see some of that influence, but when we're taking a deeper look at your music, the way that you approach it is different, and it's different from track to track. So sometimes, it could be not even a rap; it could be almost spoken word. So
correct.
more like poetry. So, what makes you choose one direction over another?
Yeah. So what actually inspired me to start doing EDM music, the latest single I have called Fall Apart, produced by Robot Millennium. That's where I'm kind of doing spoken word. What inspired me the most, I would say, is because I started out as a poet first, I would say. So just a lot of writing and a lot of spoken word and a lot of energy behind your words, a lot of emphasis. So from there, I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and just make a track with me just talking on it. Like public speaking, except for it has a little music behind it. You know what I mean? Because people always tell me I'm such a powerful speaker. And I just ran with that and created the latest single, Fall Apart.
What was the response?
Everyone loves it. Everyone loves it. All my fans love it. I haven't heard one negative thing about it. It's almost like they couldn't wait for me to create something else to feed their ears because there's so much of the same kind of music that's out there right now, and when you change it up a bit, especially being a hip hop artist and then creating an Afro tech dance track, it just really shows versatility, and it just shows what a true artist you actually are. You could pretty much do anything, just like how Beyonce's doing country music now, or how you have Taylor Swift, who's, started off as country. Now she's more, pop, a little rock, and, a little bit of everything. So I think it's really awesome when an artist can just show how versatile they can be when recording other music.
Let's take it a step further with that song. Can you tell us what the story is behind it?
Yeah, so Fall Apart, it's about the world coming to an end. And it's about living your last moment doing what you love or being with who you love. Even if it's just being alone, you're watching everything just fall apart in front of you, even if you're alone. But I would say it's just about getting to know who you are. You know how when they say your life flashes before your eyes, when you know you're about to die, that's kind of what Fall Apart is. You're just watching everything before you happening. And you could be by yourself or with the person you love or whatever. But those final moments are very precious to you. They mean everything to you. So, yeah, that's pretty much what the song's about.
I hate to ask it, but what inspired it?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. What inspired it? You know what? For me, just watching a lot of what's going on in the news lately, all the current events, and it's kind of just like, whoa, the world is literally falling apart, even if it's not physically falling apart, just, people, businesses, brands, companies. I just heard here in San Francisco, they just did like a massive layoff of like 2,000 or 2,500 plus employees that got laid off of their job. So for me, that's a definition of falling apart. Or, when you can't afford to pay rent anymore or your mortgage, it's like everything's falling apart. So that's kind of, I just put it into one piece and I just summed it up that way. But yeah, it's just based on like current events and just everything that I've been coming across on the news, social media, even your favorite artist passing away or anything like that. It's just like, the world is falling apart. So yeah.
So, what is your songwriting approach?
My songwriting approach, I listen to the music first. There are times where I have something already pre-written and then I'll fix it to better fit the track, the song. But for the most part, the beat writes itself. When you hear it, you automatically know how you want to approach the song. Like, okay, I'm going to, I'm going to rap fast on this track. I'm gonna rap slow. This is the concept of the track. These are the particular lyrics that I want to use in the track. So I would just say the beat, the instrumental writes itself, and it just sparks the idea and the concept for you to come up with that way.
So the music comes first, and then the lyrics for you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who's doing the music? Are you doing the music, or do you have a producer helping you?
So I have several producers helping me actually. For artists, it's always best to work with several producers, even though you have your own sound that you're catering to your fans and that represents your brand. You can still work with any producer or collab with any artist you want to and still have that same sound. So some of the producers that I work with, I play some of my previous music that I've had with other producers. And so they get the idea of what my vibe is. And from there, they'll create something that's similar to that or that may be different, but still something that represents Keldamuzik, something that they know my fans will like.
So when you're working with these producers, I mean, we all collaborate with somebody. So when you're
Yeah.
collaborating, what kind of challenges do you have, especially when you're going from one producer to another?
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of challenges. So there's some producers that will only do a track for me if I record in their studio and they get to do the mixing and mastering. But then for me, I'm just kind of like, well, I don't really like their style of mixing and mastering. I like going to my home studio. So then they're like, okay, well, then we got to renegotiate how you're going to record over this beat. Because if it's not in my studio, you're not recording over it. And I'm like, ah. So that's one challenge. And another challenge is really just finding the right song that matches you, that matches your vibe, that matches your sound. And that could be very difficult because someone can email you about 100 beats and you might only like one or two of them. But you spent the whole day listening and re listening over and over to make sure you don't like that song, you know?
Well, that happens, right? I mean, you're going to go through a lot of music. I mean,
Yeah.
I've worked in Nashville for 30 years, and
Hmm.
when we deal with a singer, usually you take them into a publishing house and you listen to hundreds of songs before you find the one that fits for that particular artist.
Sure.
So I can only imagine it's the same thing for you. You're listening to beats and tracks, and you're trying to find the one that fits what you want to use for your message.
Yeah, exactly. And it could go wrong if you try something new that you've never experienced and you don't really know what you're doing. And plenty of artists have test the waters by doing that and they receive the feedback from the fans. But hey, you're an artist, you're a creator, you have to try.
It's all about experimentation. Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you're doing that, you get this track, and then you take it home and sit with it for a while and try to get inspired by it, or do you do it all in the studio?
Yeah, so depending on who the producer is, like I have one particular favorite producer where pretty much anything he makes that he comes up with on the spot, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I don't even have to listen to it again to make sure I like it. Now it's the writing process afterwards. Other producers, if I haven't worked with them before and they want to collab with me, then yeah, I have to take the beat home and sit with it for about a day or two to know if I'm going to use it. But sometimes if it takes that long for you to decide whether you like it or not, it's like, well, maybe this might not be the right track for you.
Well, say you have that connection and you
Mm,
want to put some lyrics to it. What's the
mhm.
step for you? What's the process there?
Yeah, so I usually start with the hook first. If I know I could write a catchy hook to it, from there, that dictates how the rest of the song is going to be formatted and lyrically how I approach the track. For example, I had a track called Shows and Shoots. Instantly, when I heard the beat, I loved it. So, what I did was I wrote the hook for it. I wrote the hook to it. And then I waited a day, right? So your ears could be clear as if you never heard it before. And when I recorded the hook on that track, I listened to it the next day, and from there, that's when I started writing the bridge. Then I started writing the first verse, the second verse, and then went back and even made some changes because I'm like, whoa, this is getting better and better. You're building the song. And for me, I like taking my time with music. I'm really not the type that will just listen to a track and then start recording over it. I really like to take it home and study the track. We're in a different era now where it's okay to do that. A while ago, it was more like, hey, here's a beat, spit a 16 over it, make a track over it. And it's just kind of like, I don't want to be rushed because I'm not going to come out with a track that has substance to it. It's just going to be something really basic. So that's the thing with me. I have to take my time with the music.
Well, you said that some of the producers want you to track it at their place. Some of them want you to let them mix and master it.
Yeah.
Where do you prefer to track it?
I actually go to Soundwave Studios, which is located in Oakland. DJ True Justice, he's my recording engineer. And what I like about him so much is he's an artist too. So artists understand artists. Artists know what they want to hear. They know what other artists want to hear. They know what a clean mix is. They know what a dirty mix is. They know everything. You know what I mean? Not just typical tech guy who knows his engineering, who may be really good as well, but no one could better understand you than another artist. So it's a plus when they know how to record music too. So yeah, that's my home studio. That's pretty much the only studio that I trust going to because it's really hard to find a good studio that understands your sound and that has a really good mic and recording system. I'm not at the point yet where I have tools at home to record. I rather go to a studio and I rather have someone critique how I sound and remove any extra noises in the track or whatever. So yeah, I'm really, really picky when it comes to recording at certain people's studios.
Tell us what it's like when you go to the studio in Oakland and, describe the day to us.
Yeah, so I have all my music written. I've even, I've practiced, I've rehearsed, and I even put samples on my phone. So just in case I might forget how the melody goes or how the way I'm supposed to rap it. And I'll go to the studio and I'll make sure I have kava tea. I usually have 2 bags of my kava tea.
Does it help your throat?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean overall tea, anything warm will help your throat before you get in the booth. But kava actually relaxes you because I do sometimes get nervous when I go in the studio, especially if I know I'm doing a feature for somebody because, hey, you're being paid to provide a service and you better come with it,
Right.
provide quality service. But yeah, so I'm in the studio, I'm drinking tea. I'm listening to my previous rehearsal recordings that I laid on my phone, and then I hop in the booth. And I'm a one taker. I feel that if I'm not a one taker and if I have to keep re-recording over and over again, I'm going to get tired. I'm going to get burnt out and it's not going to sound the way it should have been when I first recorded it. The only time if I have to re-record something is, on my end, if I messed up, if I fumbled over a word or whatever. But for the most part, I'm a one taker. And then I have first ad-libs, I have second ad-libs, and then I listen to it a couple times in the booth with the headphones, and then outside the booth I listen because certain sound systems, when you listen to music, they sound different. And then I'll even go to the car, listen to the music too, just to make sure everything was mixed properly. So it is a process, but for me it's a short process because I feel that whenever you go to the studio, especially if you're on someone else's dime, you need to already have that down. You need to have it rehearsed.
The studios are expensive.
Studios are expensive, but it's no better than preparing to perform live somewhere. You can't just stop the track in the middle of the performance and just be like, "Oh, hey, can we do that over again?" You know what I
Right.
mean? I mean, don't get me wrong, some people do it and that's fine, but I'm talking about if you're live on TV. You can't just stop the track, you know what I mean? So that's the way I look at the studio. I'm going to come rehearsed and well prepared as if it's a performance.
So when you're in there and you do your track, that's the track you wrote. That's what you're comfortable doing. You go in, you perform your track.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're doing the ad libs, do you know what those ad libs are going to be, or are they truly written on the spot?
Oh, now the ad libs are on the spot. Yeah, the ad libs are on the spot because when they replay the track and I tell them, okay, just press record and just let me go. First, I'll listen to it and I'll say, okay, I want to do this there, do that there. But it's still not like set in stone.
Right.
It just comes natural once they roll the track. And that's when I'm like, okay. And I just start, putting my ad libs down, especially if I say something funny or if I say something with emphasis. I'll highlight that in a way by saying another word after that. I like some of the styles that I come up with. If you listen to my song called Last Minute, and there's also a music video for it, it's a song I recorded long, long, long time ago. But I would say the word before I say the word. So say if I already laid down my main vocals, my verse, and when it's time to do ad libs, I'll ad lib the word before the main track plays that word that I say. It's pretty cool because not a lot of rap artists or hip hop artists have actually done that.
You usually
So
do it after the fact, not before.
yeah, they do it after the fact. Yeah, yeah, but I do it before the fact. And someone just told me how unique that was, and I've been running with that ever since.
Now, you mentioned the studio and you like going in because you like the vibe and the feel of the studio and you like the engineer that you're working with and the microphones and the
Yeah.
gear that he has.
Yep.
Can we just describe that a little bit? What size is the studio? Is it a small production studio or is it a large format studio?
It's a small production studio. It's very small, maybe like the size of I don't know, of a like a living room, family room.
So when you're in the studio, are you performing in the control room with the engineer, or are you in an ISO booth?
Oh no, I'm in a booth. So I could see the engineer from the window and I just poke my head at the window, talk through the mic, if I
Right.
gotta tell him to rewind the beat or whatever it is that I need. But yeah, it's a really comfortable studio. They have a couch there, they have a little small kitchen, and it's just really relaxing. It's not there's no foot traffic coming through. That's one of the things I hate recording at big studios is when they have just major foot traffic walking through, people knocking on the door. Hey, did you get that track done for me yet or whatever? And I'm just like,
Kills the vibe.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So this is making music. It's all about having privacy and being to yourself.
So you're talking about the feel, the comfort of the studio, and a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
choose studios just for that reason. Like
Mm-hmm.
you said, it has a feel, it has a vibe. You sit down, you have a couch, you might have lava lamps or candles or that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you bring any of your own stuff to make the ISO booth feel more comfortable to you?
You know what? No, I don't have to. They have a chair in there. They have a little table in there where I could put my water or my tea to feel comfortable. And now I don't even need a stand anymore. I just read the lyrics off my phone. Thank God for iPhones or Android phones now. You could just
Now you were
pull up
okay
your
at the beginning with
lyrics.
the iPhone. We'll stick to the
Yeah,
iPhones.
yeah, iPhones. Yeah. So I just use my iPhone and pull up my lyrics through email and just start recording. Doesn't really take much for me to prepare or relax because again, I'm so just well rehearsed to where, I get upset with myself if I'm not a one taker.
Well, that's a good point. You say you're well rehearsed and you go in there and you nail it in a take or two or maybe a couple
Hmm.
touch ups. But how many songs are you doing when you go in for a day?
Yeah, so it could range from 5 songs to 10 songs. Recently, I was in the studio and I was doing a couple features for a few artists. So I was in the studio for maybe about an hour. I was doing, a feature for, hip hop artists is doing a 16 or 32, right? Not the entire track. So I'm in there no more than an hour. But if I'm recording like an album, then yeah, I'm blocking out maybe about 6 hours. And within that I give myself, 15-minute break like every 2 hours because you don't want to wear your voice out. And you also don't want to wear yourself out because it'll come through the music and you
Oh
could
yeah,
tell. There's
absolutely.
no mixing or mastering that could erase that. You always want to be fresh.
You say a lot of the engineers want to mix and master you,
Hmm.
in their studio themselves.
Hmm.
Does this studio in Oakland, is that engineer one that you trust to mix and master your music?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's the only one that I trust. I'll get all kind of emails from different producers or engineers like, "Hey, can I remaster your track? Can I remix it for you to make a final mix?" And I'm like, "No." Like, how dare you? You're insulting my music, and you're insulting my engineer. No. I like the way it's mixed and mastered. I like the way this sounds the way it is. And people are always wanting to do that because at the end of the day, they know that it's good promo for them. If I put out a track and their credits are on there,
Right.
that's all they ultimately want. But in reality, it's like respect the music.
That's how young engineers are trying to build a name for themselves.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. When you're working with him, you're done. You do say your 6 hours, you do a full album. How
Mhm.
long does it take him to mix and master from that point?
Uh, it could be 24 hours, 48 hours if he doesn't have any other projects, but he's pretty fast. He's pretty fast and he's really good. And also, too, I'm coming with a well-produced track, which makes it easier for him to clean it. All he's doing now is just cleaning up my vocals, which really aren't much to do. So, and cleaning up my vocals are just cleaning up like the extra ad-libs that are not necessary in certain parts of the
Sure.
song.
put a little polish on them and call it a day.
Exactly.
So when you're receiving these tracks, then I'm assuming they're coming in a stereo file. So it's not a multi-track. You're getting a stereo file. You sing to that stereo file, and then he blends those two together with a little bit of icing on top of it.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And that's what makes it radio quality.
Sure.
Right?
No, absolutely. So
Yeah.
he does that. He turns them around in, say, 72 hours or so. And then do you take them and live with them for a little while, listen to them in your car, spend some time with them, and then make any final adjustments, or do you make all the adjustments right away?
He'll mix it first, and then he'll let me hear it, and then I could sit with it for like a day or two. And then if I like the way it sounds, then he'll put the icing on it. If not, then he'll make any adjustments. But for the most part, the sound levels are always good. The vocals sound clean. It just sounds like real professional, well-produced music.
Sure.
I've been to certain studios and worked with certain engineers where they give me the track back and I'm just like, wait, what? Do you not hear that hissing noise? Do you not hear that the beat started right here? Or why did you add a break here? Why did you cut off the song like that? Why'd you turn down the song right there? Just some people like to put their own twist on things when you don't ask them to.
Well, that's a good point, too. How much leeway do you give him when it comes to mixing your material?
I give him full leeway because I know he's not going to do anything that I'm going to dislike. It's a service, right? So if I'm paying to have this mixed and mastered, you're not going to make any additional edits that weren't there initially. You're just going to do your job and clean up the track so that it sounds good. So that's definitely what I like about him because, again, other producers or engineers would just kind of get too happy and, too button happy. And they want to start cutting up the track or adding a break here or whatever. And I'm just like, you don't do that. You don't do that.
So you prefer the stuff stay true to the original?
Yes, yes. Unless I come up with an idea, don't touch my music.
So
Don't touch it.
what if there is a time where he has an idea? Does he run it by you first?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He would run it by me. He'll call me, text me, hey, this part of the track, I was thinking maybe we could slow it down. Or at the end, instead of just stopping the track, maybe we could have it fade out. I'll take that into consideration and I'll think about it and I'll get back to him and say, okay, that's a good idea. Or no, just do it the way I instructed you to do it. And again, there's nothing wrong with making suggestions because we're all in the business of art.
And that's what collaboration is.
Exactly. And that's what collaboration is. So I'm not opposed to it ever. It's just don't do it without me knowing first.
Do you happen to have any examples that you can think of that a suggestion was made that you accepted?
Yes. So I went to another studio and I actually had about 7 artists on the track. And the beat was so good that whatever you do to it, it didn't matter. But the engineer at the end of the song, one of the artists was doing a verse, and at the end of his verse, at the end of the song, he put a drop in the middle of it. And it sounded kind of cheesy, but it didn't ruin the song. And it was like a sound effect that he did, but he dropped the music at the same time when he did it. And it wasn't bad. It didn't ruin the track, but it's just like, I didn't tell you to do that.
So did it stay or did it leave?
It stayed.
It stayed. Okay.
It stayed. It wasn't bad, and it was all right.
So it made the cut.
It made the final cut, yes.
All right. So you go through the studio, you get the tracks back, they're mixed, mastered, you send it off for, artwork and replication of either digital or physical product. Then you take it on the road. You go to support it. So what's your first step when you're going to support this new album?
Yeah, so my management team, what they'll do is they'll set up a press campaign. They'll start sending out press releases and start posting content of the song on social media and then on the website, like, teasers, clips. And then from there, I'll do interviews with radio stations, writers, journalists whoever wants to write up about the song and talk about it before it releases. And then I'll even do a couple performances. As a matter of fact, another dance track that I released last year, it's called Get Loose, the EDM mix. Right before I released it, I got booked to perform at the unofficial after party for the Outside Lands Festival. It's a major festival here in San Francisco. But anyway, uh, they were more than happy to book me and have me premiere that track. And that was my first time performing the track. So that was good promo, along with all the press that we did, and radio drops for DJs, and to the fans, dropped clips of the song, do a little promo video for it, not a full actual music video, but just like a promo video. But yeah, those are all the necessary steps that I take to promote the song. And if you have a good team behind you, that always helps. If not, there's always tools online that you can use that will help you. And obviously, Spotify has certain features that you could use prior to releasing new music. So, I mean, gosh, there's just so many
things you can do. You mentioned several things. I want to keep going down this path, but I want to make sure that I touch on some of these, so I'm taking notes here. One of the things you mentioned is your team and your management handling your social media. So how much of the social media do they handle versus how much do you participate in it yourself?
So I approve the content before they even post it. We have a document where we share content together, and they'll message me and say, "Hey, check out what I just dropped in your Google Drive. Do you like how that looks? Do you like the design? Do you approve?" And sometimes I have to tell them to go back and, "Hey, that doesn't really look like me. You're getting too AI happy right now."
Nice.
Or if I approve it, I'm like, "Great, this looks great. Let's post it." I really have no issues with content posting because, again, it's all the content that I dump in a folder for them. All they do is just polish it. But I have experience working with certain social media people where you leave it up to them to come up with the content, and you wake up and you see a picture of you looking like this, or you know what I mean? Just like, wait, what? Where did you get that picture from, and why did you post it?
Well, I asked you that question because when you're dealing with a team and you're dealing with a marketing team, you're dealing with an image, which is your personal brand.
Yeah.
I'm just always curious, how much of you is that personal brand versus a team?
Oh, I would say it's about 90% personal brand. And the rest is the team. And all they're doing is just polishing the photos for me and, maybe coming up with the captions. But I'm the one who says, "Okay, it's Music Mondays. Let's post something like this, a picture of me in the studio or on stage, and let's tag it Music Mondays, or Throwback Thursdays or Flashback Fridays." So after that, I let them polish it and post it.
What's the difference between a Throwback Thursday and a Flashback Friday?
They're both the same. All
right. Just wanted to see if I was missing anything.
Yeah, no, they're both the same. Just another excuse to post something really cool, from long time ago, from the past.
Very cool. That's the post and the content that's going outbound. Do you spend any time on the socials actually just doing engagement work?
Oh, of course. I feel that if an artist is not, independent artist is not, doing personal engagement with fans, it's kind of like, what do you expect then? How do you expect people to really listen to you and want to be your fan when, it's a bot replying back?
Right.
So I'm always engaging with my fans on socials. It was my birthday last week, and I woke up to maybe like well over 800 happy birthday messages, and I made sure, like, I couldn't reply to everybody, but I made sure to show acknowledgement to each post. I was just laying on my bed, just on my phone, and every 5 seconds someone's like, happy birthday, and I just made sure to show acknowledgement. So never take anything for granted, and never let the system just handle everything you do. You have to be personal at one point with your fans because they're fans of you,
right,
because of you.
Well, And that's what it's all about. It's social media. You're supposed to be in there and you're supposed to be social.
Exactly.
I can understand a team might be following you around, might be taking some photos and doing things like that, but ultimately you have to be the one responding to people. I wouldn't trust somebody else to make the responses for me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And then, there's certain topics that are posted online and you want to engage with that as well, from other people. So I'm always responding to people's videos and replies to videos, even if it's not my own.
Well, the other thing you mentioned in there was doing a radio tour, and you go by the stations and you say hello and you
Hmm.
keep up that relationship.
Hmm.
So describe what that day is like when you go into a studio.
Yeah, so if I get booked to go to a radio station or even a studio podcast, it's pretty fun. I go to my makeup artist first. She gets me dolled up. And then my publicist and we discuss the key points that are going to be discussed in the interview. And beforehand, she actually has arranged what we're going to discuss because for me and many other artists, we don't like to be put on the spot or we don't like to be asked questions that will throw us off. And, now it's like an awkward situation. It's so funny. I actually did a podcast recently with someone from another website. And, I thought we were going to be talking about entertainment and music and stuff. And next thing you know, they start bringing up politics and bashing the governor, the mayor. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I do not want
Those
to.
questions are 3 or 4 down the line.
Yeah. They're coming right up.
So do you ever run into a situation where you have to be ad-libbing there?
Yeah, definitely. There was one time when I was touring in Antigua. For those that don't know, it's a island in the Caribbean, and they booked me on Good Morning Antigua. And there were a few questions where I didn't know what I was going to say next, and so I just I repeated the question and then kind of just went into my own zone and started talking about something else. And they're like, don't worry, this is not live. We're going to edit this, And I was like, well, wait, this is Good Morning Antigua, right? Like, Good Morning America, you guys are live, right? And they're like, no, no. I'm like, okay, thank God.
See, it's just like politics.
Yeah.
You just go off and talk about what you want to talk about anyway.
Right. And then, so, sometimes, you kind of want to be smart or clever and use certain words you haven't used before. And then, you're not using it correctly or you're not pronouncing it.
Never a good
Never a
idea.
good idea. Never. So I'm just like, okay, you're able to cut that, right? Cool. I'll never use that word again. Let me go look it up again. What does it mean?
You mentioned having a team. How big is your team?
Let's see. I have a manager, I have a booking agent, and I have a PR person, and I have a social media person. Oh, and I have a website developer. We talk every day because I'm a pest. I'm an Aries, and we're very determined. And sometimes we don't know when to back off of people and let them just do their job. But I talk to them every day, like what's on the agenda today? What are we doing today? What are we posting today? Can I read the press release before that goes out? Can I read the article before start posting that on different blog sites? You know what I mean? So it's always conversations like around the clock every day.
Does your publicist ever want to get involved in the other areas of marketing, like maybe see some of your posts or critique something on your website?
Yeah, sometimes they do because when they're doing their part of the marketing, like if I'm booked for a podcast show or a radio show or a performance, they have to they have to know and see that I'm posting the flyer online and promoting it and properly tagging the right people who are hosting the event. So that's where they come in. And I come in by, doing a drop by saying, hey, you guys, I'm going to be performing at the blah, blah, blah festival this weekend. And then you have the social media person who who's doing the posting and the captions and the hashtags. So it does take a team effort sometimes just for one post.
Oh, yeah. No, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. I don't think some people even understand that, but there
No.
is an awful lot of things that go on behind the scenes, like you said, for even just one post.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, one of the other things you mentioned, one of your team members is a booking agent, and you mentioned performing. So, can you tell us what some of the experiences are when you're playing overseas or in other countries?
Yeah, so in 2022, I performed in Switzerland. I was only there for, 3 nights and 4 days? So that was to go on stage and do a medley of my songs, shaking hands with the promoter, the venue owner. So it was more it was a promo go-see tour.
For awareness?
Yeah, there you go, for brand awareness. Yeah. And also, too, at that time, I launched my berets, TAMs. So they had me meet with a few fashion stores out there and manufacturers. Yeah.
Very cool. I was going to bring that up after the commercial break here, but why don't we go ahead and skip the commercial and tell me about the berets?
Yeah. So the berets are called TAMs. They're exclusively on Amazon. That's where you can purchase them. I came up with TAMs during the pandemic. What really inspired me to do it is the fact that no one has branded a beret before. Not in the entertainment business, not in pop culture, not in hip hop culture, not in the Black community. So when I came up with this idea, it was a huge hit. I was hosting and producing fashion shows. So that opened another door for me as an entertainer. So now, I'm making more fans, more friends through models that are purchasing my berets and walking on the runway. And I'm hosting and I'm talking about, all the 10 different colors, which color represents the beret and what the nickname is for it. So that kept me really busy as well. And it's still keeping me busy now. Matter of fact, we're planning another fashion show, hopefully in May, like a spring fashion show, probably like a bikini fashion show. So you're going to see girls walk around with bikinis and berets on.
I don't know what that's like. Anyway, so the beret itself,
Yeah.
is there a team involved in that?
Yes, so I have an e-commerce person, and that person is responsible for managing the berets, the sales of the berets on Amazon. So, they're running ads, they're also engaging with customers, even influencers on social media, and also too maintaining the website, making sure that the website's ranking high on Google. And because of that, the sales have increased. I've been receiving good feedback on Amazon and just making more fans through it. But the cool thing that I'm doing with the berets is that when I produce these fashion shows, I'm bringing on my customers who purchase the berets to be a model, to walk the runway. And that's my whole thing, bringing on the non-traditional model to be a model. And the Tams beret is allowing you to do that. So, there's no clothes and no fittings, or, you have to meet this criteria.
Even better than the bikinis. There's just no clothes.
Exactly. There you go. Even better.
So the manufacturing of these berets,
Hmm.
are they made to order, or do you have a certain production run that goes?
I get them manufactured overseas, and then they ship them to Amazon. And then they ship me a contract,
So
and
it's
then
a
Amazon.
fulfillment contract.
Exactly. And then Amazon notifies me, hey, your product is here. Here's how many colors, how many berets per color, and this is what the packaging looks like when someone orders.
So there is a little bit of quality control.
There is a little bit of quality control, yes, yes. Amazon, they make sure that everything passes their QC.
Well, as we're approaching the top of the hour, I don't want to leave before we talk about some of the other endeavors that you have. I mean, you work in television and stuff as well. Can
Hmm.
you tell me about the Hodges?
Yeah, so the Hodges, we are on our seventh episode. This summer, we'll be streaming on Amazon. It's a series based on comedian Mario Hodge and how he what challenges and struggles he faced to become a successful comedian. I play his wealthy wife. No one knows what I do for a living. They just know I'm wealthy and I pay all the bills. The kids don't know. All they know is daddy's gone doing a tour, a show. He comes back and mom is mad because she paid for him to get on the plane. He stayed out there longer than he was supposed to, and mom's handling all the bills. And then, when daddy comes home, he's supposed to be taking care of the kids, cooking breakfast and dinner, and he's not. I'm the one who ends up doing it, and I'm, chewing him out, and the kids are just like watching us like we're pure entertainment in front of them. So it is a series, and it will be streaming on Amazon Prime this summer, and hopefully we get picked up on more platforms.
What's that experience like for you? Do you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah, it's fun. What I like most about it is we get to improvise a lot because we have scripts, of course, but hey, there's times where you forget your lines. And, I'm working with a comedian here, so
Right.
I have to meet his level of comedy, or I just have to meet his level of energy because the guy is really sharp. He's on it. Like, comedy is all about timing, and the guy just hits it every time. And then I make sure to follow up and hit back with it. So not everybody could play my role, and obviously no one could play his role to his show. So it's a fun experience, meeting a lot of different people and just being on set all the time. And again, just having fun and improvising and being an actor. It's just,
Which do you like better?
I like it all. Anything performing arts related, I love it. I love being on stage. I love performing. I love entertaining. I love being the star of the show.
Really?
Some people can't even tell.
We do this thing here that we call Unsung Heroes, where we take a moment to shine the light on somebody who has worked behind the scenes or somebody who has supported you along the way. Do you have anybody you would like to shine a little light on?
Oh gosh, geez, there's so many people. I definitely want to thank Sky Concepts Entertainment. They're the ones who have helped me produce a lot of my events, my fashion shows. The owner, his name is Oscar. He's an amazing guy. And we're always talking on the phone and trying to plan the next event. Gosh, and I want to thank my TAMS models. Thank you so much for not only purchasing the berets, but walking the stage, walking the runway. And oh my gosh, there's so many people I want to thank. I want to thank Diggs Media Group. I want to thank Jai, my team manager. He's always been in my corner for the past 15 years, helping me with my brand, my designs, and who we should bring on the team, who needs to go out the team. You know what I mean? So yeah, those are the people I want to thank. And thank you to my parents for giving birth to a beautiful, talented individual named Keldamuzik.
Nice. A big thanks to Kelda for taking the time to share her stories with us, and thank you for taking the time to hang with me here. I know I've said it before, and I will say it again. I really do appreciate it. If you know another music fan that would enjoy this episode, please be sure to share it. You can do that and find the links to everything mentioned over at jfranzi.com/episode 68. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Jay Franzi Show. Make sure you visit us at jfranzi.com. Follow, connect, and say hello. This episode has been brought to you by VR Knives, your source for 100% custom knives made by a true rock star. So, if you're in the market for a new piece of art, reach out to VR Knives. 407-421-5528. 407-421-5528.